let's start with the classic. We always have, so I mean, whoever's been watching the Math and Physics podcast, if you guys know, we have a classic question that we ask every guest that we have on. It's what got you into your field? Like in your case, obviously it's mathematics. So was there like a moment either in your childhood or in your school or somewhere that kind of set that made you tell yourself this is for me?
I don't know if there was ever anything so punctuated as like before I was into math and after I was into math. From a very young age, my dad would play sort of like mathy games with me, and that surely has to help. I think you get into a bit of a positive feedback loop there, where if when you're really young you start just thinking about these things in your free time, in this case maybe because of games with my dad or just interesting puzzles he might give, then you become good at it because like you've been spending time on it, and that's like the only way you get good at something. But then if you're a little bit good at it, you get positive feedback in school and things like that. And when you're a kid, it's easier to self-identify with something like that in a way that embeds it into your personality. So certainly by the time I was like in high school, it was kind of in my personality that like I like math. That's not just a thing that I like, it's an aspect of who I am. There's definitely a very influential calculus teacher that I had early on there who sort of opened the doors to like the math that exists outside of the very linear track that is what you see in school. So if ever there was like a punctuated moment, while that wasn't necessarily like turning me from non-math enthusiast to math enthusiast, it definitely like was the start of a new chapter maybe. So telling me about things like the Math Circles event at a local university, or just like giving me some books that went beyond and things like that. So a lot of gratitude towards him. And then from there, the same positive feedback loop kind of kicks in, because once I was starting college, it was like, well, I know what I'm majoring in, and it's just a matter of like what I do from there. Whereas everyone else is like, what am I going to major in? The irony being that I spent a good portion of undergrad getting heavily seduced into computer science away from math, but couldn't seduce fully.
Yeah. And did you ever get into physics as well?
The funny thing is, I loved physics in high school, and I love physics now. Actually, like I'll just like read about it. There was just this big blank spot though, where I never really studied physics in college for whatever reason. I think I was busy with like math and computer science. I don't know why, because like the aspects of math that I like actually come up all the time in physics, and just it's at this point maybe something I like in a hobbyist way. But because of that blank spot, I do have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder in terms of feeling like, oh man, I could know it much better than I do now if I had decided to spend more time while I was in school on that. But yeah. Also, it's so broad, right? It's like, what do we mean by physics?
Right.
Like, there's so many different things that can touch.
Was there any specific physics topic that might have intrigued you? Because I know, like, especially with math, there are certain aspects in physics, like like quantum mechanics, for example, that is so heavily embedded in mathematics that I don't know, like a lot of mathematicians like it. So was there like a certain topic like that?
So
maybe?
quantum mechanics. Yeah, quantum mechanics is an interesting one because I feel like it appeals to me for a very different reason that it initially appeals to a lot of people. Because it's got a great marketing arm in some sense, where it's like, look at these weird phenomena that happen and this deviation from classical mechanics. What's most fascinating to me is more like the way that it looks a lot like classical mechanics, or that the math of it has a very similar flavor to like Hamiltonian mechanics, and why it is that the slight tweaks being made in some sense feel a little bit more natural. And like, why do those suddenly correspond to different laws of physics? But you have all of these very fundamental, like things that are implicitly there in the rules of QM. Like linear transformations are everywhere, right? And you step back, you're like, why would they have to be linear? Like that doesn't feel like a given. It feels nice. It's very elegant. It makes things easy for us in comparison to what it could have been. But like understanding where that comes from, or understanding why like complex numbers are so embedded in there, like that's just very interesting to me, almost more so than these kind of shock and awe wacky phenomena, is the particle in two places at once kind of things that you'll find in the popularizations. So the more it feels that like something mathematically natural also corresponds to a deeper theory, that's incredibly intriguing. And I'm way farther than most people from like understanding that, but it's enough to niggle at the curiosity.